Good afternoon, YouTube. I know not a lot of you watch these videos, but I do. And I'm okay with that. You guys watch my short videos of what I have to color, which I'm totally fine by the way. Totally fine. But it would be nice and appreciate if you guys could watch my videos of books I read. I don't read a whole lot, but I read this one. Not because who the person in the illustrator is, but because when he came out with the first book, it got me into thinking it feels like a mixture of Captain Underpants and something else. I know it's for kids, but adults read it too. So don't come after me for it. And if you guys don't want to listen to me, that is totally fine. You can get the book for yourself and read it for yourself. I'm not going to tell you to come watch my videos because who the person is. But I met the dude, met the illustrator, and they're both fantastic people. I even told him that I read his book on my page, and he laughed about it. Not in like a ha, like a great laugh, like okay, sweet, like he laughed with me and he thought it was awesome that I'm doing a content for his book. Granted, I don't tag him in it, and I've done it before, but I don't tag him because he's very popular and a lot of people know him. And I could give him free whatever that word is, and I do. And you're probably wondering, who am I talking about? Justin Stewart, illustrator Rick Douglas from Made More J Stew. This is his second book. I know I'm a few days behind, and I think I'm on chapter 3. Should be on like chapter 5 or 6. That's fine. So let's go to chapter 3, and I'll read chapter 3. And again, I don't care if you don't listen to me. I don't care if you do listen. I am not gonna force you to. Got that? Looks like chapter 3 looks like 14 pages. All right. So it's gonna be a long one. The brief, chapter 3. The rescue pod descended slowly, and its thrusters kicking up swirls of dust as it approached the surface of Planet Splotch. For the crew from escape pod number 526, this moment was more than just a landing. It was a glimpse of hope. Their first look at the future since the meteor destroyed their homes and their previous planet. Out the pod windows burst until they painted a landscape. The ground stretched out in shades of tan, gold, and dotted, with clusters of spike green shrubs, strange U-shapes, trees arched towards the sky, and rock formations. Rose like stacks of cubes, almost as entire cities have been carved into stone. The crew pressed their faces against the glass, eyes wide. Whoa, are you guys seeing this? Our new home. Unbuckling his seatbelt, Wilby practically bounced off the walls, alternating smooches his face against the window and scrambling across control panels to get a better view. The pod let out a loud psst as the door cracked open, releasing the misty haze in the air. One by one, the crew stepped outside, their feet sinking slightly into the sandy ground. A nervous excitement buzzed through them as they took in the new landscape. Immediately, the families rushed towards them, busting with excitement. Chubb's mom came barreling forward, arms wide, and bouquet of flowers. Wow, I can't even think how to say that. Flowers filling. She nearly tackled him with a crushing hug. I thought you were a goner, she cried. And then who would take care of all your plants? You know, I don't know anything about flashlands. Chubbs chuckled. Mother, it's succulents. Succulents? Zelma's parents lingered quietly on the outskirts, waiting on Zelma, searching her eyes from them. They exchanged subtle gestures with a tilted head and flick of the hand with their own sign language. Zelma nodded back with a smile. I understand every bit of it. Yusuf stood completely still, arms at his side. He inhaled deeply as if bracing himself. He clearly prepared himself for this scene. Then came Wilby. Father, mother, oh great Gumbo, you're alive, he shouted. Sprinting past Goosebump like a rocket, he dove into the arms of two tiny figures and tried with all his might to lift them both in the triumphant bear hug. He failed miserably, collapsing in a giggling heap between them. Finally, Kadetsky's locked eyes with his mom and his dad. His father stepped forward with a firm nod. Glad you made it home safely, son. Kadetsky smiled, just beginning to respond with a booming voice interrupted crew members of Escape Pod. 526, we are glad you made it here safely. Finally, welcome to Planet Splotch. The voice belonged to a towering blob with thick arms and a face so hard it was as if he had a jawline. He stood at the edge of the landing platform, his presence both commanding and intimidating as he peered through his glasses. I hate to break up this joyful reunion, but I need to borrow those fine young Blobs scenes for a little while. The parents all stepped back and nodded to their young Blobs proudly. It's all right, sir. Kadetsky, father told the officer we still have a lot of work to do getting things organized. See you later, son. He squeezed Kadetsky's arm and led his mom away. She smiled and wiped a happy tear from her eye. The general's gaze swept over the crew, leaning briefly on Kadetsky. Follow me to the office. Kadetsky exchanged a quick glance with Opie, who clutched his shards tighter with his vest pocket. With an firm nod, Kadetsky stepped forward, leading the group as the trailer after the massive blob into an unmarked building. After a few minutes of winding through endless hallways, the crew stopped in front of an imposing door. The symbol of Blood Force was carved into the surface. Bold, sharp, and impossible to miss. The door slid open with... That's the commander. Nice big buff with the burly mustache. Mechanical hiss revealing a stunning view. A wall of glass stretched across the back of the room, framing the alien landscape of Planet Splotch like a masterpiece. Please have a seat. The towering blob motioned to the chairs set around the oval table. The crew settled in. A couple lower levels officers flanked the general as he took the chair at the head of the table. Two officers pulled out notebooks to write down notes during the discussion. Excuse me for not introducing myself earlier, the leader said. I am General Buck Crabstone, head of all operations here at Blob Force. After hearing that some of our Blobzines had the misfortune of crash landing, we feared the worst. Your miracles ever last one of you. Oh. A voice trailer off as he frowned as Wilby, who was squirmed in his seat like a worm on a fishing hook. You're not going to believe what we went through back there. Wilby jumped up onto his chair, practically vibrating with excitement to start with. Wilby Kadetsky cut him off sharp with a glance. Yeah. In a slight shake of his head, he turned back to the general and adopted a serious tone, hoping he sounded like someone he could be in the Blob Force. It's an honor to meet you, General. We're incredibly grateful for your team's rescue efforts. I brought some of my people from the Unknown Intelligence Force. UFO. UIO. Officers take notes on what experience. The general leaned back in his chair. Between the officers, removed his glasses and began cleaning them. Now, if you could start from the beginning, we encourage hostile beings on that planet, Sir Kadetsky began. They call themselves glitches. They're building something big. A device of some kind of dominant the galaxies, and we're afraid that will be coming after us. The general's brow frowned. Now let's slow down here. Coming after you for what? The others glanced at Kadetsky, waiting for him to respond. Kadetsky steadied himself. Because we took something from them. I took something from them, Wilby corrected, puffing out his chest and pride. Show him, Wilby. Kadetsky said, Wilby, you could never stop wiggling and jumping around, even for a single moment. Suddenly seemed frozen. He stared off in space as if he hadn't heard Kadetsky. Wilby, show him. Wilby trembled with a little. He clenched his teeth and his fists as if he were straining to lift something very heavy. Beads of sweat were forming on his forehead. It's time to be the hero, my hero, Zelma murmured, hoping to convince him to give up the doomsicles. The general peered down at the tiny blob over the rims of his glasses. Goosebumps snapped his fingers in front of Wilby's face. Wilby jumped, then looked around in confusion. Sorry, what? Show the general doomsicles, Kadetsky ordered. The general snickered. Did you just say doomsicles? Goosebumps covered his face with his hand. I know, right? It's not a joke, Sir Kadetsky protested. Wilby now. Handshaking, Wilby slowly withdrew the three glowing shards from his vest pocket, placed them on the table, fingers caressing them one last time. He couldn't tear his eyes away from them. The general laughed even harder, his belly giggling, saying beings you encounter on the planet are going to chase across the galaxy for these little rocks. He used a handkerchief to wipe the tears of laughter from his eyes. Oh no, that's a good one. You really had me going there for a second. No, sir. Lord Zord told me. Zord, one of the officers, repeated, exchanging look of assuming with the other. What kind of name is Zord? But he said, we're just listening to the recording. Kadetsky raised the command device he stole from his prison guard when he'd been captured by the Glixies and used to record Lord Zord bragging about his galaxy. Domination playing. When he pressed play, the speaker emitted nothing but the series of glicks. Kadetsky tugged his collar. We had a bit of an accident with this. I'm sure we can fix it. He shook the device a few times. UIFO officers snickered. The general's lips twitched as if he were trying to hide his amusement. The door opened and the general's assistant poked his head in the room. Sir, there's a matter that requires your attention. The general nodded and stood, casting the crew silent smile. Blobsings, on behalf of the Blob Force, I command your quick thinking and thank you for your time here. We'll take the information you shared under advisement, but Kadetsky sputtered. I assure you that Blob Force is prepared for any situation, and we are extremely busy setting our entire race on its new planet. So this debriefing is now concluded. Sir, this is exactly very serious, Zoma cut in, staring at the face of the general. We were there too. We saw armies of these things. They have massive, dangerous weapons. Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, the general said, checking the time on his wrist com. He gestured to the other officers who gathered the things to leave. We have top-class troops on standby at all times. These, globby things, glitches, sir, Kadetsky corrected. Ah, yes, well, if these glitches ever do come looking for trouble, they'll find more than they bargained for. Wilby, who had been transfixed by the shards, lying on the table, almost as if they hypnotized him. Apparently, he had only paid attention to the last few words. He suddenly shouted, I love a bargain. The general patted Wilby on the head. You can keep those stones. Yay, Wilby snatched the doomskulls off the table and shoved them in his pocket. Thank you, sir. Well, handle everything from here. The general continued pushing the blobs ahead of him, of his office, like he was trying to take the trash out. If any threat comes out to our new planet, we'll be ready, so don't you go on check on your new homes. They're ready for you to move in and go back too. The general's gaze raked over the crew. Chubbs clustered lobsters in the hand and his trusty panic bag, and the other Goosebob smothered out his mohawk hair, skull t-shirt, and glared at the UIFO officers. Wilby hopped from the foot to wall, trying out interesting noises with his mouth. Somers, whose backpack had slid open, was gathering some private investigator gear that had spilled on the ground. As she scrambled to pick up everything, the general waved his hand toward the gleaming new subdivision in the distance. You can go back to whatever you guys are doing before your little adventure. Door slammed, leaving them outside alone. The air between them was thick and tension. Kadetsky scratched the back of his head, so, that went well. Y'all have a good Friday, and come back tomorrow for Chapter 4.